So for chapter 3, we are going to learn how to process data. For example, this is reading input with text box control. So when we build business applications, so the users have to be able to input data. For example, what's the name of the customer? So what is the date? So what is the credit card number? So all these things are input. The users can type the input in the business application. Usually, we can use a text box control for input. So a text box control is a common input that appears by default as a white rectangle area. So it can accept free-form keyboard input from the user. So it is available as other controls from the toolbox. So it is added to a form in the same way as other controls. Has the forename of text box n. So we have 1, 2, 3. So typically requires a company label to identify its purpose. Okay. So this is a text box control. So if we go to Visual C#, okay, I still try to use Visual Studio 2017 for input. Okay, I think. So I'm using Visual Studio 2017 as the tool I'm going to use. Okay, it's because it is a version used in a textbook. So I'm using application gateway. So as usual, if you want to create a new project, right? Here we are going to create a Windows Form application. So here the name when you work on your lab and assignment, you need to change the name. Okay. For example, I'm still just use the default name here. For location, remember you need to use your S drive if you are using application gateway. So here, if you use this a default location for application gateway, so you are going to lose everything, as I mentioned before. So you have to locate to your S drive. Okay, this is my S drive. Okay, I have my S drive. So you can create a project. Okay, I create a project. So now the project is saved on my S drive. You need to follow this step when you are using application gateway. Okay. So I create a new project. So this is a new project. Remember, we have this design window. This is a solution explorer. This is a property window. So when you want to add a control on the form, okay, you need to use toolbox. So let's check toolbox. So we just learned, right? A text box control. So for text box control, you have all Windows forms. So text box control is, so it is here, right? You see, you have a text box control. So when you want to add a text box control, so you just double click, right? You see that a text box control is added here. So remember, for each control you put on the form, the first step is to rename the control. So if I go to name property, so the name created in Visual C#, it is text box 1 with text box 1. So as you know that we need to rename the control. So now it is text box 1. cannot hide. So it is to rename the control. So we have, for example, we have name text box. Remember, the naming convention is camel case. So camel case is first word will start with a small letter. Starting from the second word, the word will start with a capital letter. So name text box. You see, I have text box need to start with a capital T. Name text box. So now I rename the text box. Okay, here. So this can be used as an input area. If we check the slides, you see that typically there is a comment here. Typically, a text box control requires a accompanying label to identify its purpose. For example, in this project, I just added a control, text box control, okay? But without any further information, the user will have no idea. So what is this text box? What kind of input is required for this text box, okay? That's why usually for each text box, you need a label control. For example, I'm using a label here. So I have a label, right? And in the label now, it is label 1. Name is label 1. When you add a control on the form, the first step is to rename the control. So it is, I want to rename it the name label. Okay, this is camel case. First word name starts with a small letter. Second word label will start with a capital letter. So it is name label, and the text is, for example, if I put, the text now is label 1. If I put name, right? I put name here. Okay. Now you know that, for example, I put these pairs, a label plus a text box. So when a user is using this form, and the user reads, oh, we have a name, we associate it with a text box control, the user will understand. So for this, in this text box, so the user has to input the name, type the name, right? Names of, for example, of the customer, the name of the customer. So you see that if you start with this, start this application, so if we start this application, so you will see this is a form is running, and we have a label which is name, and after this label we have a text box control. So it is clear that for the user, so in this text box, the user has to type the name of the customer. Okay, this is usually how we use text box control. Okay, text box. So let's continue. So the text property, so in the text box control, we have a text property, right? So as we just found here for this text box, if we check this, so text property, so now the text property is empty because we have not preset any text inside this text box control. For the text property, if you want to assign some value in the text box control, you can do first name text box dot text equals Mary. Okay, it means that we want to display the string Mary in this text box, first name text box. So the text property stores string values. Recall that digit can be stored as strings. For example, if you have this double quote 5, okay, you use double quote, inside is 5. This 5 is a string, not a number. Okay, double quote a string, not a number. To clear the contents of a text box control, so assign an empty string, empty quote, empty string Two is text property. It's very useful. Why? Because in all the future projects, you need to clear, right? You need to reset. You have a button, reset button, to clear all the input area, to reset all the input area to the default format. In this case, you are going to use this quantity text box.text equals empty, okay? Empty string, okay? Empty string. This is how we clear the input area. We clear the input area. Okay, let us check. Okay. So this is the input area. So this is an example reading the text property. Here is one example. You see, we have enter your name, and after this label, enter your name, we have a text box control. And so you entered. So this is a label, and also the second one here, you can see it is not white, right? Text box is white. So this is gray. The color is gray. Why? Because it's output area. So for output area, we will not use text box. We are going to use label. So this is one thing I want to mention, because so in previous semesters, there were some students who were confused about this. So when they use input area, they know that they have to use text box control. However, when they want to do output, okay, when they want to do output, so they also chose to use a text box. That is not correct. For output, you see, output label. So we are going to use label control for output. That is very important, okay? So for example, in one application, when you calculate, right, you have collected all the input information of the customer name, customer credit card, customer billing address, all this kind of information of the customer, and you calculate the final billing amount. When you have this number, you want to display this amount, right, to an output area. So for the output area, you need to use label, not text box control, okay? That is very important. You see here, the first one here, this one, it is text box control. The second one here, it is label control, okay? This is used for text box, okay? This is used for text box. So if you read this code here, we have two buttons, okay? The first button is read input. The second button is exit. So it means that we can create two event handler for each of the button. For each button, we create one event handler. So for the read input, we have read input button, click. So here you can see that when you click the button, this statement will be executed. Output label.text equals name text box.text. What does that mean? It means when you put some name, right, in the input text box control, and you click the read input button, so the output label area, the text property will be set to the content in the input area. It means the output label will copy, right, the name, the string inside the input area. So in this way, so you will see that if you type, right, Michael here for in the name input area, so you click the read input button, you will see the same input, right, Michael, the name, in the output label area. Okay. So for the second button, exit, you see it is this dot close. Okay, this we have learned this before. So for this statement, it is used to close the form. Okay, you see we have two buttons. The first button is to copy the input name to the output label area. The second button will be an exit button. When you click the second button, the form will be closed. Okay, the form will be closed. Okay, this is a very simple example. So with one input area, one output area, and two buttons. Also, you have two labels, enter your name and your entered, right? You have two labels to indicate the meaning of the text box area, input area, and the output label area. Okay, you see on this form we have one text box, 1, 2, 3 different labels, and 2 buttons. Okay, you have 6 controls on the form. Okay? This is the example how we can use the text property of the text box control. Okay. Now we have some examples. Okay, you will see that. So in this class, so in each lecture, we have a small quiz. Okay, the quiz is considered as an exercise. Okay, for these exercise problems, they will be similar as the coding problems we learned in the lecture slides. Why we need this practice? Because as a professional programmer, you will be able to write fully correct statement without any help. For example, without any correction or without any hint in C#. You need to write fully correct statement by yourself. Okay, for example, when I was a student, okay, so in a coding class, so we have 2 components for assignments. The first component is regular projects. We have 4 big projects. Okay, you write more than 1,000 lines of statements. So for the second part, they are short exercises. So we have, I remember when I was a student, we had a platform. Okay, so the professor built a platform on which we need to write the code by ourselves. When we write around 50 lines of code, there will be no hint, no instruction, just tell you it works or not. Basically, you should be able to write simple statements without any mistake, without any error. So that is a basic requirement for a programmer. Okay, that's why we practice for those simple examples. For example, example 1, assume that there is a text box control named course name text box. Write a statement to display name ISM3232 in the text box. So for this problem, you just need to write 1 line of statement course name text box dot text equals ISM3232. You see, you have a space here. Okay, when you work on your project, a space is also 1 character. You need to have space there if it is required. Okay. Also, when you want to use string, so you need to use the double quote. Okay, double quote. Okay, double quote. So for the second example, for the above text box control, write a statement to clear its content. Okay. So for this problem, you basically need to write course name text box dot text equals an empty string, empty quote. Okay, double quote. Don't forget for in the end of each statement, you need a semicolon. Okay, semicolon. If you don't have the semicolon, so you have a syntax error. You have a syntax error. So assume that there is another label control named course name label. Copy the content of the text box control in the label control. Okay. So for this example, basically you need to learn how you can read input in a text box and how to display the output. Okay. So basically you need to use the text property for both text box control and label control. So course name label.text equals course name text box.text. Okay, this is how to copy the input from the text box control to the label control. So these are 3 very simple examples. So in the exam, okay, in the online exam, so we have 2 exams, midterm and final. In the exam, you will have a lot of this kind of coding questions. Okay, you need to write the statements, 1 line, 2 line, no more than 3 lines. No, not very complicated coding examples, but so your answer will be graded by details. For example, if you forget a semicolon, you lose some point. Because the requirement is you need to write these simple statements by yourself without any error. Okay? So if you have some very small error or syntax error, you are going to lose some points because This problem is simple. There are no advanced algorithms. There are no advanced coding techniques. Okay, they are basic. So we are testing your capability to write simple statements by yourself. Okay, simple statements by yourself. So the next one is masked text box. Okay, a masked text box control is a specialized text box. It differs from a regular text box control in that the format of the data that can be entered is controlled. The required format of data to be entered into the box is specified by use of the mask property. You see that, for example, when you fill some online application form, you want to apply credit card, or you want to apply some program, right? You need to fill a form, online form. In some input area, for example, DOB, date of birth, or address, or telephone number, right? So in the form, there is a specialized requirement. For example, for the date, so the format is month, day, year, right? That is the required format. For telephone number, you need a pair of parentheses inside 3-digit area code, right? Then you have 7 digits phone number. This is a specialized required format of the telephone number. So we are using this kind of controls can help the users understand what is this area. It can also help the user to follow the right format of the input. Okay, for example, the date, right? So let's try it in Visual Studio. This is Visual Studio. I want to add input area. You see, we are learning masked text box control. It is there here, masked text box. So we double click, right? We double click. So this is the mask text box control. Remember, when you add a control on the form, the first step is to rename the control. This is always the first step, because if you don't change the name of the control, right, in the future, you will cite or use this control here and there. If you don't change the name of the control, in the future, you'll find, oh, I need to rename the control. You need to rename all the places where you use this control, you cite this control, okay? Now we have masked, the default name is masked text box 1. So we change it to date. We still follow a camel case convention, okay? So we date, okay, date, masked, okay, masked text box, okay, this is the text box. Similarly, for each text box you use, you want to use a label to indicate the meaning of this control, okay, meaning of this control. So let's put a label. We put a label here. So here we have label, and name is label 1. So we change name to date. Okay, label. And for the text property, we change it to date. Okay, date. Okay. So you see that we have not set up any specialized format for this masked text box control. So let's see one more slide. Okay, we'll see that. So the input mask dialog box. So when you have some required specialized format in the mask text box, you have to use the mask property, the mask property. So, and in the mask property, there are some different formats, okay, formats you can select. So here, I select this text box. Now it's the mask property has not been set up. So I go to mask. You see, mask is empty. Okay. When you select mask, okay, you need to use this. You need to use this in next assignment, mask text box. Okay. So mask text box, you see when I select the mask property, so you have, see, I have a dot, 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 the 3 dots, right? Sign here. You click this. Okay, you click this. So input mask dialog will pop up. Okay, that dialog will pop up. So you see, you have a couple of the blueprint, right, to select, template to select. We have numeric 5 digits. So this is used for zip code. Okay, zip code. We have phone number. This is 3 digits area code, 7 digits phone number. So phone number, oh, no area code, 7 digits, short date, right? Short date. Short date and time, social security number, which is 3 plus 2 plus 4. Okay, 3 plus 2 plus 4 digits. Time, European or format. Time, US format. Okay, so we also have zip code with 4 more digits. Okay, these are preset formats you can select. Also, there is a customer. Okay, so what is customer? For example, you want to have a credit card format. The credit card number is 16 digits, right? 16 digits. That format is not in the list, right? That format is not in the list. So if you check the slides, right? You check the slides, right? You see, here we have 9000. 0 means that's a digit. So that is a digit. So if you want to have a credit card number, right? You can do 0000, okay? 0000, 0000, right? That means we have 16 digits, which is used for our credit card number, okay? Credit card number. For other format, for date or for the zip code, this format has been set up in the list. You can select from here, for example. Now I want to pick the date, right? Pick the date. So it is short date, short date. So I click OK. You see, I have this. Okay. So the specialized format for the date now is
I made it in life.
Question?
When I am a model.
You're already on TV.
For like a company though. Like for some sick company. Oh my god.
If you don't have a question, you need to be muted, okay? So now you see that we have the required, okay? We have the required format of the date, okay? You see that if I run the application, okay? Now I have another input area, which is a date input area. So for this area, you see when I'm running the application, so now I have a required format. I can type 12, it is December 1st, okay? 2020, for example, okay? I type a date, okay? You see that in this case, we can use a masked text box to tell the user, to help the user to follow the required format of some input. In this case, so it is the short date. In this case, it is a short date. So, so this is masked text box, okay? So usage of masked text boxes. So here is shown a form in design view that includes 3 masked text box controls with the mask properties set appropriately for the purpose of each control. You see, in this application, business application, in this form, so this form is for employee information collection. So we have a first name, last name for these 2 input areas. We just use regular text box, okay? First name and last name. So for the third one, so SSN, so we have a required format, 3 digit plus 2 plus 4 digits, right? For date of birth, we use short date format, okay? Month plus day plus year, okay? For telephone number, we have area code plus 7 digits of telephone number. You see, in this case, we have three different areas in which we require special formats. So sim form is shown here at runtime with data entered. For the masked boxes, the user only has to enter the digits. The other characters, dashes, slashes, and parentheses are entered automatically. You see, these format symbols, okay? Dashes, slashes has been entered automatically. The user just need to input the numbers, okay, the numbers. So now we have some examples, okay? Example one, assume that there is a masked text box control named date masked text box. Write a statement to clear the content in the masked text box control. Here, the way we clear a masked text box control is the same. We just use an empty quote, okay, double quote, empty string. So for the second example, assume that there is a masked text box control named date masked text box, and its mask property is set up as date. What will be the content in the masked text box after we execute the following statements? So for this one, if you type this, right, C# will read month, day, and the year automatically. Okay, this will be done in C# automatically. So we are going to see December 31st, 2018. So for example 3, in the above example, if we execute the following statement, what will be the result? Okay, we want the text property of date mask text box equals double quote 123120118. In this case, we don't have slash, right? We don't have this, but C# can still read 12 is December, 31 is day, 2018 is the year. Okay, is the year. Okay, we are going to see this kind of output. So now we finish text box control. In the section 3.1, we learn how we use a text box control and how we can use a masked text box control. Okay, masked text box control. So now we need to learn another very important concept, which is the variable. What are the variables? A variable is a storage location in memory. Basically, for example, if we want to put something, for example, x equals 5, x is a variable. We need to put the number 5 of x in somewhere, so in the memory. So a variable name represents the memory location. In C#, you must declare a variable in a program before using it to store data. So the syntax to declare a variable is data type with name of the variable name, okay, semicolon. Data type is the type of data that will be stored in the memory location represented by the variable name. For example, here we have some examples. Int age, what is that? It means int is a type. Int means integer. Okay, int means integer. So age is variable name. Basically, we are declaring a integer type variable with the name age. Okay, with the name age. Or you can use int age equals 5. Here we have a digital equals 5. What is that? It means when we declare a variable, we can also set its value at the same time. You see, in the first one, int age semicolon, we just declare a int variable. In the second one, int age equals 5 semicolon, this one. We first declare a int variable age, then we set its value equals 5. Okay, equals 5. Okay. So in your project, when you declare a variable, you can declare it. That's it. You can also declare it and set up the value at the same time. Both are correct. Okay, both ways are correct. So for string variable, we have string name or string name equals fiddle. Okay. Similarly, For string name, we declare a variable with the name. For the field, we declare a variable, string variable name. At the same time, we set up its value equals field. Okay, equals field. So here you observe, right? So int is in blue color. String is also in blue color. Why? Because they are keywords. They are words reserved in C#. It means that you cannot use these words by yourself for other purposes. They are reserved for very specific purposes in C#. Int means, so we are declaring a int type variable. String means that we are declaring a string type variable. Okay, string type variable. So here are some examples. Example 1, declare an input int type variable named price. Basically, you need to int price semicolon. That's it. For the second example, declare an int type variable named price and set its value to be 5. Okay, int price equals 5. You can write the declaration of the variable, then set up its value in one statement. So in example 3, declare a string type variable named name and set its value to be Smith. Okay. Similarly, we use keyword string. The name of the variable is name. String name equals double quote Smith semicolon. Okay, semicolon. So in these 3 examples, we learn how to declare different variables and set up its value at the same time. Okay. So data types. A variable must be declared with a proper data type. The data type restricts the type of data a specific variable can hold. C# provides several primitive data types that each store a fundamental type of data. Each C# data type has a specific type and a range of data that it can store. You see, if we go back to this variable, first slide for variable, you will see a statement to declare a variable is first data type. Secondly, variable name, right? So now we learn that in C#, there are several different data types, okay? In this table, so we list most or all the data types used in C#, okay, C#, okay? The first one, it is byte, integer values from 0 to 255. Short, integer value from -32768 to +32767. Int is a wide range. So long is longer integer values from a more wider range, right? See, a very long range. So float is floating point values, okay? Double is, so with more digits with a wider range of floating point values, decimal floating point values in a smaller range. Char is a single Unicode character, single character of type. String, a string of Unicode characters, virtually unlimited in size. Bool is Boolean values true and false. True and false, basically, we have 0 and 1, 2 different values. So in this course, okay, so in principle, you may want to use all different types in while you program. But in this course, specifically, in all the future projects you are going to work with, so you will need to use int, sometimes double, and decimal, string, char, and bool, okay? For other types, we will not use it in this course. You will not use it in your projects, okay? We use int, double, decimal, char, string, and bool. There's different types in this course, okay? Let's say int is for integer. Double is a wide range of floating numbers. Decimal is a small range of floating numbers. You see, the range is different. Okay, range is different. Char is a single Unicode code character. String is a string of Unicode characters. Bool is true and false. Okay, bool is true and false. So variable names always choose a meaningful name. For example, if you want a variable to put the name of the customer, right? You can use customer name. So when people read your code and people find, whoa, this is the variable is customer name is customer name, they will understand. For this variable, that variable will be used for customer name of the customer. Try to use a useful name. So the basic naming conventions for variables are the same as presented earlier for form control. Camel case, okay, naming convention for variables is the same as the control, okay? It is camel case. So basically, the first character must be a letter or an underscore. After the first character, addition character can be letter, digits, and underscore. C# keywords cannot be used like int or double decimal. So try to use the camel case convention. You see this one, right? This variable sales tax total. So sales will start with a small s. Second word tax starts with a capital T. Third word total will start with another capital T, okay? So try to remember this naming convention because learning this naming convention is also important to be a professional programmer, okay? To be a professional programmer. So for string variables, a variable of the string data type can hold any combination of characters, letter, digits, etc., such as a name, an address, a phone number, or a social security number. The value of a string variable is assigned on the right of an equal operator, surrounded by a pair of double quote marks. For example, so this way it is item description. You see, we follow camel naming convention, right? Item will start with a small I. Description will start with a capital D, okay? And this is a string with a double quote. Always remember, please always remember, when you want to use a string, okay, value of string, you need to use double quote, okay, double quote. So this equals, that means we are going to assign this string to the variable item description. So the following statement assigns the item description string variable value to the text property of the item label control. So this is also very useful in your future projects. Why? Because in the future, you need to make output, okay? Output to labels or even output sometimes. So output your result to a TXT file. So in this case, some output values will be in the variable, okay, in the variable. So this is how you can output a variable value to some output control. For example, this one is item label.text, okay? We have output area item label, and we use its text property. It equals the variable item description. You can also display a string variable in a message box, okay? So message box.show. So in the pair of parentheses, so we need a string, okay? Item description is a string, so it can be used directly in the message box.show method, okay? You can display the content in this variable, okay, in this variable. So this is another useful technique, okay? So which is string concatenation. So in today's quiz, okay, you need to use it, okay, because I feel, so in today's lecture, this might be the most complicated technique we learn in today's lecture. So what is string concatenation? So for string concatenation, it means that we want to append of one string to the end of another string. Basically, we want to combine multiple different strings to display a sentence or to display something, okay? So in C#, C# uses the plus operator for concatenation. For example, in these two statements, in the first one, we have string name equals Bob. Okay, you can see we use double quote for Bob. After this statement, we have message box.show. Okay, message box.show. Inside this message box.show method, we have first hello. You can see hello plus a space. Okay, hello plus a space. So this is in this string we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different characters. Okay, in this string, double quote this string. So we also have a plus sign. Plus means concatenation and name. Okay, name. With this format, you will see a message which is hello Bob. Okay, hello Bob. You see that we can concatenate two different strings in one sentence. Okay, and display a sentence as output. Why this is useful? Because when you try to output something, some words are fixed. Okay, for example, is, the, right? They are fixed. Those words are fixed. But some other things are not fixed. For example, customer name or the final amount, right? They will be based on the calculation or the input. It means something are fixed, something is not fixed. In this case, so we are going to collect all the fixed words, right? Here, we will also collect all the input, all calculations. Then we use string concatenation for the output. For example, for this one, hello is fixed. However, the name is not fixed, right? Name is not fixed. It depends on the input. So if we use Bob, in this example, we are going to see a message, hello Bob. But if we use Smith, right, we are going to see the message, hello Smith. It means something is fixed, something is customized. Okay, we concatenate each part into one unified a sentence or paragraph as the output. So concatenation can happen between a string and another data type, a int and a string, or a double and a string. For example, right, this one, string message equals 12 plus apples, space apples, okay, space apples. Now you see that apples, space apples, this has a double quote. The second part, there is a double quote, okay? However, the first part is a number, the int number 12. It is not a string. Why we can still do this? Because in C#, when you use plus sign to concatenate different components, so C# will transform these numbers to string automatically. Okay, C# will first transform 12 from a number to string, then concatenate these two parts. It means that in the message, you're going to see 12 apples. Okay, there is a space between 12 and apples. Okay, 12 question.
What would happen if you change the string for like an int message equals 12 plus apple? Would have I ever?
No, that's error. Why? Because if you use change string to int, right? That's a good question. If you change from string to int, the problem is, so C# cannot transfer space apples to int, right? 12. C# understand 12 a number or string, right? That's doable. However, so what is space apples? That cannot be transformed to int numbers, right? So in this case, you will see a syntax error in C#. Okay? It means you can concatenate numbers plus strings. However, if you want to transform strings to numbers, okay, first make sure that these three are real numbers. Okay, it is not A, B, C, D, F, G. It is 12, 34, right, numbers. Then you have another method to transfer string to numbers. Okay, we will learn later. But here, if you do this, int message equals 12 plus double quote apples, that is a syntax error. Okay. So that is string concatenation. So we have two examples. Example one, So assume that there is a label control named message label. Also, we have defined an int variable named age and a string variable named name. Write one statement. Here, only one statement, not two statements. Write one statement to display the text. So we have two different blanks, right? So the first we want to see it is name is age, right? We want these two. Write one statement in which the two blanks should be filled in with the content of the two variables respectively. For example, if name equals Bob, age equals 8, we should display the message Bob is 18. Okay, Bob is 18. In this example, you need to know how to do string concatenation. That's the first thing. The second thing is, so you need to write everything in one statement, okay? In the exam, there are some requirement. If there is no requirement, it can be done in two statements, no problem. However, in this example, it is specifically required. We need to use one statement, okay? Single line statement. So here is the answer, okay? You see, we have message label. You see, you follow camel convention. Message label dot text property equals, now because text property is a string, we want to use plus sign to do string concatenation. Okay, name plus space is space. Okay, remember these two space, one space before is, one space after is, these two space are required. Okay, then plus concatenate age plus a period. Okay, you will see a complete sentence, Bob is 18, period. Okay, period. So example 2, display the above text in a message box. Okay, in a message box. So here we are going to the same thing. You need to use message box.show message. You can see for this method, right? It is not camel case. Okay, so all the word will start with a capital letter. Okay, for method. But here for control and variables, control name and variable name, we follow camel convention. So we do name plus double quote, space is space plus age plus period. Okay, then you can see this is a very simple example how we do string concatenation. Okay, string concatenation. So declare variables before using them. A variable must be declared in code before it can be used elsewhere in the code. You see here, this is example. So in this method, show button, show name button, this button is event handler. So we first declare string full name. Okay, string full name. Then we do full name equals first name text box dot text. Concatenate a space. Concatenate last name text box dot text. So we write this sentence to concatenate first name plus last name to get the full name of the customer. To get the full name of the customer. But you see here we set the full name of the customer to the variable full name. Okay, when you want to use the full name variable, you have to declare it in the very beginning. That's why in all the methods, if you want to use some variables in the methods, so in the beginning of the method, you need to declare all the variables you want to use in this method. Okay, in this example, we declare string full name, then we can use it later. However, if you do not declare the string full name without this statement, you use the full name directly, you will see a syntax error. There will be an error in C#, Visual C#. Okay, Visual C#. So for local variables, a local variable is one declared within a method. Okay, within a method. Such a variable belongs to the method in which it is declared, and only statements inside the method can access the variable's value. So what does it mean? Let's see this example. You see, in this example, first button click inside this event handler, this one. We first declare a string variable my name. Then we use my name equals name text box dot text. Okay? Because this variable declaration string my name is inside this first button click event and inside this method, it will only exist in the method. It means that outside this method, we don't have the variable my name. It is inside. Okay? When we execute first button inside, it is created. When we finish, it's gone. There is no such a string variable my name outside the first button click method. Okay. For example, if you have another method, second button click, and you want to use my name, output label dot text equals my name. No, it's not there. Okay, it is gone because it is inside the method first button click. Okay. So if you want to use in another method, it's a syntax error because my name does not exist in the second method. Okay, the second method. That's why we call it a local variable because my name only exists locally inside this method. Okay, inside this method. So variable scope and lifetime. The scope of a variable describes the part of a program where the variable may be accessed. So, for example, the area of the code where the variable is recognized, you cannot have more than one variable with the same name within the same scope. Okay, you cannot declare them two variables with the same name. That's error. The lifetime of variables is the time period during which the variable exists in memory while the program is executing. The lifetime of a local variable is the duration of the method in which it is declared. Thus, when the method ends, the variable is cleared from the memory. So this is what I mean. In this example, okay, you see, for the variable my name, it is declared inside the method. It means when you click the first button, when this event handler is executed, okay, my name is created. When this event handler is finished, it is done. Then the string variable my name will be cleared. It's gone. You cannot use it outside the method because it's not there. It's gone. Okay, it's gone. That's the lifetime of a variable. So rules of variables, you can assign a value to a variable only if the value is compatible with the variable's data type. For example, so in the first line, we declare string variable employee ID. Okay, we declare a string variable the employee ID. In the second one, employee ID equals 125. 125 is a number, is a int number. It is not a string. Okay, you remember when we want to use the value of a string, we need a double quote, right? Double quote, double quote. We don't have a double quote. Here it is 125 is a number. So we want to assign a int number to a string number, string variable, then it's an error. Okay, this is a syntax error. A variable holds only one variable value at a time. A variable must be assigned a value before it can be used. If there is no value in the variable, it's empty. You cannot use it. You can initialize a variable with a value at the same time that you declare it. For example, this one, we declare string variable product description, and the value is chocolate truffle, okay, with double quote. So multiple variables with the same data type may be declared together with a single statement. For example, we have three variables. We have first name, last name, first name, middle name. Three different variables. So obviously, all three variables are string. Okay. In this case, you can use one line of statement to declare the three string variables at the same time. Well, that is feasible. Or declaring multiple variables in a single line. Okay, declaring multiple variables in a single line. So we can also have multi-line statements. C# statements can span across multi-lines of code. This is useful when very long lines of code would be difficult to read on the screen or print on paper. So in this example, we have a method show date button click. We declare a string variable output, but for output, we have day of week plus comma plus month text box text plus a space, right? Day of month text box text plus comma plus year text box dot text, right? So this line of statement for output is very long. So if you write it in one single line, right, it is very hard to read in your screen, on your screen. It is very hard to print on a piece of paper. So in this case, so in C#, it will support multiple lines of statements like this, okay, like this. So you can separate with plus, right, plus and plus, okay, for a string combination. So after we execute these statements, we can display the output on the label, or text property, okay, text property. So this is how we deal with multi-line statements, So now we have some examples. Example 1, assume that there is a text box control named name text box. Write statements to declare string variable named full name and assign the content in the text box to it. So here, so you can first declare string full name, right? Then full name equals name text box dot text. Okay, so this is how we declare string variable, then how we read the input from a text box control and assign the input to the variable. Okay, so for the second variable, declare string variable name number and assign 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as its value. So here you first declare string variable name is number. Number equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here the tricky part is you need to use double quote, because when you use double quote, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a string. If you don't have double quote, right, it's a number. Then you have an error in C#. Okay, you need to use double quote for string. Okay. So next part is numeric data types and variables. So to store a value to be used in a mathematical operation, a variable of numeric data type must be used. So in this course, we will primarily use the following 3 common C# numeric data types. We use int, whole numbers in the range of approximately 2 billion, plus minus 2 billion, which is definitely good enough for us, right? In some advanced algorithm, that might not be enough, but for us, that's good enough. Double, it is floating point numbers in the range of plus minus 1.3 times 10 power of 308 with 15 digits of precision, okay, which is a very wide range, okay. So decimal is floating type number in a smaller range, with 28 digits of precision, okay. For most projects or most labs and assignments in this course, decimal is good enough. That range is much smaller, so compared to double, but that is enough for us. Okay. So this is the numeric data type most often used in financial calculations, and should be used when working with monetary values. So numeric literals are numeric values written directly into a program's code. Int, it is housework equals 40. Okay, 40. A whole number literal is automatically considered to be a int type, while a literal with a decimal fraction is automatically considered to be a double type. You see here, we have double temperature equals 1980.6 semicolon. Now we have a point part, right? Decimal part. So in this case, if you do int temperature equals 98.6, this is an error because 98.6 is not a whole number. It is a decimal of float number, right? So we need to use double. Or next one is to tell C# to consider a decimal fraction literal to be a decimal type instead of a double type. The letter M is added to the literal values like this one, decimal period. Okay, remember? So period. So we follow camel convention. P starts with a small p, right? Rate will start with a capital R. Equals 28.75 M. Okay, that is a very important format character. So for double type, you don't need anything by the end of the number. For example, 98.6 is good enough. It is good enough. However, for decimal type, you need a very specialized format, which is you need a M in the end of the number. Okay, when you use a M in the end of the number, Visual C#, Visual Studio, you can understand, well, you are declaring a decimal variable. Value is 28.75. Okay, 28.75. So all capital M also works. So small m or capital M. Each way is good. Okay, each way is good. Now we have some examples. Data type assignment compatibility. C# will assign int values to int values, but will not assign double or decimal values to int variables. For example, you declare int variables units, value is 40, that's good. Okay, that's okay, okay? However, if the variable is int, name is length, but the value is 25.5. So in this case, 25.5 is not a int type. It's a float number, right? It's decimal number. In this case, Visual C# will tell you there is an error. Okay, you need to fix it because so 25.5 is not compatible with the int type. Okay, int type. So in the third example, we have int revenue equals 650.75 M. Okay, so 650.75 is a decimal number. And in the end, we have letter M. It means that this value is a decimal type. Okay, this value is a decimal type. However, the type of the variable revenue is int. We are assigning a decimal type value to a int number. Therefore, this is an error. Okay, this is not compatible. So that is very important. Why? Because in your project, you are facing these compatibility issues sometimes. Okay, if the value you want to assign is not compatible with the variable you have declared, you have syntax errors. Okay, you need to fix those errors before you can continue. So in the second part, C# will assign double or int values to double variables, but will not assign decimal values to double variables. That's interesting because if you do double distance equals 28.75, that's good because 28.75 is decimal, right? It is floating number. That's good. For the second one, double speed equals 75. 75 is a int number. However, it is also correct. Why? Because int number, int value is compatible to double type. That is something you need to remember. Double value in the first group, right? So double value will not be compatible with int type. However, int values are compatible with double type. You can understand is int is a lower type. Double is a higher type, okay? High level type. So when we declare lower type, it's not compatible with or you have a value for int, it can be used for high level. But we have a value in the high level, right? Double value, 28.5, right? It cannot be used for int variable, lower level variable. Okay, so that's something you need to remember clearly, because it is not that straightforward. Int for int, double for double, decimal for decimal, right? Int values 20 int value 75 can be used for double. However, double values 25.5 cannot be used for int. Okay, this is tricky. My suggestion is, okay, try to use the same type everywhere because it's easier. In previous semesters, there were some students, they try to use decimal there, double there, right? Then they try to hybrid. Then they have some error they cannot fix because they're confused about these different types, okay? My suggestion is try to use a consistent type in your project that can make your work easier, okay? But for double type is not consistent with decimal. You see, for a double variable revenue, if you assign the value to be 6575.95 with the m, and ending with n means it's a decimal number, right? Decimal type values cannot be assigned to double. In other words, for double variables, you can assign float numbers directly. You can assign int values, but you cannot assign decimal types. It is not consistent. So for the third group, C# will assign decimal or int values to decimal values, but will not assign double values to decimal values. So for decimal value, you can assign its value to be 150.25m. That is decimal type. It is consistent. When you assign 50, 50 is a int number, right? When you assign 50 to a decimal variable price, it is also correct. Okay, int numbers can be assigned to int, double, decimal, right? However, double numbers cannot be assigned to int. Okay, so decimal numbers cannot be assigned to int. But also, if you do 599.0 without m, it is a double number. Double number cannot be assigned to a decimal type. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky, but you need to be very clear about it because question.
So if I can use double or decimal, why would I use int? Int just open.
Because sometimes you just need whole number. You don't need decimal, right? Sometimes you just need, for example, for age, right? You don't need decimal. In this case, you use int, okay? But in this course, so based on my experience, at least in this course, for most projects, decimal is enough. You just need int and decimal. Remember, because if you use int and decimal, right, int can be used for decimal, right? That is easy to handle. However, for a lot of students, when they use both decimal and double, it's a mess, okay? It's a mix. They will have a lot of different errors, okay? This is example. Declare a decimal variable named sum and assign its value to be 45.54. So have decimal sum equals 45.54m. The m is required, then semicolon. Okay, don't forget, you always have a semicolon in the end of each statement. Okay, semicolon.